When a little girl accidentally dials 911, an incredible discovery transforms 1 billion lives forever. In the small town of Maplewood, Nebraska, one tiny mistake sent ripples through the heart of the community on a sunny afternoon. 8-year-old Emma, with her bright smile and tangled hair, sat cross-legged on her porch, absorbed in her shiny new smartphone. The world felt big and exciting in her small hands, a gateway to endless possibilities. But in her innocent exploration, she accidentally pressed the wrong button, the dreaded 911. Moments later, the doorbell chimed. Emma's heart raced as she opened the door to find Officer Jennings, Maplewood's beloved police officer, embodying everything good about the town. His presence, calm yet commanding, filled the doorway. "Everything okay, Emma?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Instead of confessing her accidental call, Emma's gaze flickered to the elderly couple next door, struggling with groceries. "I think Mr. and Mrs. Hill need help," she exclaimed, her tiny hands pointing, showing a child's instinct to care. Officer Jennings chuckled, his eyes softening. He believed in the power of kindness, and Emma, with her innocent spirit, sparked an idea. "What if we started a Neighbors Helping Neighbors project?" he suggested, a flicker of excitement igniting within him. Emma's innocent passion became the seed for the community initiative, blooming into life with enthusiasm. Residents from all walks of life embraced the idea, gathering to help one another, baking pies, mowing lawns, and sharing laughter. Maplewood came alive, bathed in love and warmth, as folk walked arm in arm through their challenges, transforming hearts along the way, but shadows loomed. Greg Thompson, the town's wealthy businessman, stood in stark contrast to the project's message. "Self-interest is what drives success," he would declare, his voice booming, drawing lines between those who had and those who had not. His words sowed seeds of division, unraveling friendships and tightening the tension through streets once filled with camaraderie. Emma watched, heart sinking, as her excited town began to fracture. The winter hit hard, blanketing Maplewood in white, but biting cold mirrored the economy, resources dwindling for many. Emma's family, once on firm ground, now teetered dangerously close to the edge of poverty, leaving her torn. Could she focus on saving her family, or would loyalty to her friends mean the world to her, even if it led to further hardship? With every day that passed, the pain of indecision weighed heavily in her small heart. During the town's annual harvest festival, everyone gathered, smiles masking worries, excitement in the air. Emma felt the surge of bravery, her young voice quaking as she stood before her community. "What if we remembered the joy in helping each other?" she implored, a sparkle fighting through her teary eyes. Her message struck, igniting sparks of realization as friends began to remember their deeper connections. But then, Greg Thompson's cold stare cut through the moment like ice. Would he allow their unity to continue? Emma stood her ground, knowing that their choice held the power to reinforce kindness or deepen division. As the vibrant fireworks lit up the night sky, a hopeful murmur fluttered through the crowd. Would they find their way back to one another? Emma's heart raced as she waited in restless anticipation. Could kindness mend the rift, or would Maplewood remain forever divided, the light of hope fading into shadows? The days that followed the harvest festival felt heavy, as if the weight of the chilly winter air pressed down on every soul in Maplewood. Emma walked to school, her shoulders slightly hunched, feeling the barriers that had begun to grow among her friends. Every morning, the rising sun seemed less bright, struggling to pierce through the veil of tension that now hung over the town. In her classroom, Emma looked around. Her friends whispered, eyes darting as they side-eyed each other with uncertainty. The laughter that had once felt contagious now seemed to stutter, trapped behind unsure smiles. During recess, while others played tag, Emma sat quietly by the swings, lost in thoughts. What if we could bridge the divide? She pondered. What if just a few kind words could turn this icy silence into warmth again? Inspired by her own dreams, she took out her smartphone and typed a message to everyone. "Let's South meet at the park tomorrow. We'll share stories and ideas over hot cocoa. Bring your friends. Let us remember what we loved about our town." She hit send, her heart racing at the thought of gathering everyone once more. The anticipation grew as Emma counted the hours until the sun would set. Would they come? Would they listen? When the next day rolled around, the park buzzed with a peculiar energy, a mix of hope, expectancy, and a hint of fear. As Emma carefully set up tables with mugs of steaming cocoa, the seconds felt like hours. She could see familiar faces approach hesitantly, whispered conversations fluttering through the air like fallen leaves. One by one, the children gathered, forming a small circle around Emma. As she stepped forward, a mix of courage and uncertainty filled her chest. "I know things are different now, but I really believe we can bring back the joy. We can talk and listen just like we used to. Maybe we can find ways to help each other." She spoke, her voice stronger than she felt inside. Silence hung heavily in the air, and Emma caught Greg Thompson's presence at the edge of the gathering. His disapproving glance made her heart race. How could she convince everyone, especially him, that kindness could overcome their differences? Just then, a small hand shot up. It was Sarah, her classmate from down the street. "I miss our summer bonfires. Remember when we used to sing songs together? We could do that again," she blurted, a spark of joy lighting her voice. Emma grinned as others joined in, recalling shared moments of laughter, games, and summers spent beneath the stars. As feelings started to bubble and the heavy silence cracked with little pieces of joy, Emma saw the crowd shift. But Greg stood motionless, arms crossed defiantly as murmurs rose around him. "Why waste time reminiscing about the past when we need to think about our futures?" he quipped, cutting through the warm atmosphere like a sharpened sword. Emma swallowed hard. Would she let his words snuff out the flicker of hope igniting before her? The question echoed within her as she rallied her strength. "What if our future can be brighter when we work together?" she countered, her small voice rising above the growing rumbles in the crowd. It was a moment of awakening, a collective heartbeat that throbbed with a possibility. As the conversation simmered and eased around glasses of cocoa, a mysterious figure, a newcomer from the edge of town, approached. Who they were and what they planned to bring remained cloaked in shadows, but their presence felt electrifying. Could this person hold the key to healing the fractures in Maplewood? Emma remained poised yet anxious. The air buzzed with potential as she wondered what impact would this newcomer have on her friends. Would their arrival change the course of their town's story forever? The newcomers stepped closer, their silhouettes sharp against the fading light. Emma felt a mixture of curiosity and dread. Who were they? The whispers of her classmates quieted, all eyes turning to the figure in anticipation. A pair of bright blue eyes reflected the last rays of sunlight, and, for a moment, the tension melted away. "Hey there," the newcomer said, a friendly smile breaking through the uncertainty. "I'm Jamie. I just moved to Maplewood. I heard about your gathering and thought I'd come check it out." Emma's heart fluttered. A newcomer. Maybe Jamie could be the bridge she needed. But Greg remained skeptical, shifting on his feet. "What do you want with us?" he challenged, raising an eyebrow. Jamie's smile didn't waver. "I want to be a part of something. I know things can be tough, but I believe we're stronger together. I heard stories about the Harvest Festival and all the fun you had. I want to help bring that back." The sincerity in Jamie's voice crackled in the air, sparking a connection that Emma hoped would spread like wildfire. Suddenly, she felt the stirrings of optimism. Maybe this was what they needed, a fresh set of eyes, a new friend that could spark change. "Remember last year's scavenger hunt?" Emma chimed in, eager to keep the conversation flowing. "It was all about teamwork. Everyone worked together to find the clues. What if we could organize something like that again?" A chorus of voices erupted, each recalling their favorite scavenger hunt moments, racing through the streets, the sense of being a united front as they scoured Maplewood for hidden treasures. Laughter pierced through the serious air, sweet and warm, as they began building ideas together. "Or we could start a library club," suggested Sarah, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "We could meet and read together." Emma felt the ebb of fear as hope floated back in, weaving its way through the growing group. Greg, initially resistant, crossed his arms tighter as he listened to the enthusiasm swirl around him. But even in his silence, Emma discerned a hint of curiosity. Could he be reconsidering? Just as the energy began to peak, the wind picked up, bringing with it an unexpected chill. Emma shivered slightly and glanced at Jamie, who appeared unfazed. You can count on me to help with whatever you plan. I love new challenges, Jamie said, determination dancing in their words. Just then, the air shifted. A deep, rumbling sound echoed through the park as dark clouds rolled in, blanketing the warm hues of the sunset. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Was this a sign of trouble? Hey, let us switch to the community center, Emma suggested, her voice louder now. We can have more room to brainstorm and stay warm. The group nodded in agreement, a spontaneous decision born from the storm brewing above. As they gathered their things and started walking toward the center, Emma stole a glance at Greg. He lagged slightly behind, wrestling with his thoughts. Hey, Greg. She called, her heart pounding in her chest. What about you? Want to help us turn this around? He hesitated. Emma could see the weight of his internal battle. Was he ready to drop the walls he had built? Maybe, he finally murmured, just above a whisper, his eyes meeting hers with a flicker of understanding, with hope ignited anew. They made their way toward the community center, unaware that the true test of their unity was just around the corner. Would the storm outside reflect the storm within? The wind showed no mercy as emotions shifted, and as the group entered the building, a sense of unspoken unity hung in the air. Emma knew that with each step they took, they were either moving toward healing or deeper divides. But she had to believe the light was stronger than the shadows. What would happen when they were all together, facing the storm? Would they rise or fall? Would Greg finally find his voice, or would silence pull him back into the cold? As they reached the entrance, the wind howled louder than before, and for a brief moment, Emma stood at the threshold, holding her breath, hoping for the best. As Emma stepped inside the community center, the warm glow of overhead lights welcomed her and pushed back the biting chill of the wind. The room was buzzing, an unexpected but exhilarating whirlwind of conversation and ideas that met her like an explosion of color. The walls were lined with posters from past events, reminders of Maplewood's vibrant spirit. It stirred something inside her, a sense of belonging that she longed to share with everyone. Jamie took a seat on a wide table that doubled as a brainstorming spot. Emma followed, her heart racing with anticipation. If they could just channel this excitement into something meaningful. All right, everyone. Emma clapped her hands, gathering their attention. Let us make a list of ideas. We can even ask the community what they want to see at the Harvest Festival. Right. And we can hold a bake sale to raise funds. Sarah exclaimed, her voice bright with enthusiasm. Or we could organize a pet parade. Someone else chimed in. As the ideas flowed, Emma noticed Greg leaning against the wall, arms crossed tighter than ever. He seemed to be drawing further back while everyone else leaned in. Every ounce of her hope felt pinned on him. She took a deep breath and walked over. Hey, Greg. You're really quiet. What do you think? He looked at her, surprise flickering across his face. The way his brow furrowed revealed an internal struggle. For a moment it was as if he was about to shift out of his shell, the wall between him and the rest crumbling just slightly. I don't know, he began hesitantly, glancing back at the group. What if it turns into a disaster? We tried before and it didn't work out. Emma felt a pang in her chest. She could understand his hesitation, but something tugged at her heartstrings. But what if it's amazing? What if we bring everyone together? I mean, look at how excited everyone is. As she spoke, Jamie joined them, placing a reassuring hand on Greg's shoulder. I've always believed that the greatest things come from taking chances. You create that opportunity, and you never know how it will turn out. It's what you put in that makes a difference. Greg looked from Jamie back to Emma, uncertainty mingling with a glint of hope in his expression. I guess, but what if we fail? Failure is part of growth, Emma replied earnestly. It's about learning and coming back stronger. You don't have to do it alone, we're all here to support each other. Watching him wrestle with his fears, Emma felt an energy surging within her, pushing her to break the cycle of doubt. Together, we can make something great happen. Just imagine how much fun we could have. She added, her voice rising with encouragement. Before Greg could respond, a sudden crash of thunder roared outside, shaking the windows. The building trembled under the force of Mother Nature's ferocity. The room fell silent, a tangible tension filling the air. Emma's heart sank as she caught the worry in the eyes of her friends. There was an electric anticipation swirling, testing their resolve. Would they weather this storm together? "Let us keep going," she said with determination. "This storm outside will pass, but what we do here can last." So, what's next? Who's ready to take that first step? Just then, the lights flickered ominously, and the reliable hum of the building sputtered. Gasps echoed as frantic whispers spread through the group. Emma's pulse raced with uncertainty and fear. What would they do if they lost the very space where they sought to unite? As shadows danced across the walls, Emma's spirit wavered. But in that moment, she remembered Jamie's words. Together, they could face anything. "Gather close, everyone. We're stronger together," she called out, feeling their collective heartbeat holding a fragile hope. But would that hope be enough to withstand the wild storm outside and the storm brewing inside? Emma held her breath, wondering what would come next. Emma's voice echoed in the hushed room, pulling everyone's focus back toward her. She could sense the fear and doubt, a palpable cloud that seemed to hang over them. She felt it, too, but she refused to let it drown her resolve. "Let us brainstorm," Emma urged, her hands waving as though trying to lift the atmosphere. "We can think of ideas while we wait for the lights to come back on. We'll keep the energy flowing." Jamie nodded, picking up the momentum. "How about a lantern-making station? We could use recycled materials. Light brings hope, right?" "Great idea," piped up Sarah, her eyes brightening. Greg shifted slightly, unveiling a glimpse of interest. He took a hesitant step forward, arms no longer tightly crossed. Emma's heart leaped at seeing this tiny shift in him. Maybe the storm outside wouldn't keep them all in the dark for long. Or what about a community mural? He offered, a little louder than before. "We could have different tables for painting different sections. Everyone can add their touch, and it becomes a reflection of the town." "Yes. Yes," Emma encouraged, excitement bubbling within her. "It'll show everyone's creativity. We could really make it special." The storm raged outside, but inside the community center, they began to generate warmth, creativity flowing like the bright colors they would later use. Emma looked around the room, catching sight of the smiles starting to break through the worry. Hope ignited, even in the shadows. Suddenly, another flicker of light swept over the group, illuminating their smiling faces. Emma squinted into the brightness and saw a couple of volunteers huddled together near the back of the room. They were rifling through some supplies, the same supplies she'd forgotten even existed. A wave of realization crashed over her. Toys. We could have a toy swap at the Harvest Festival. Families could bring any toys their kids don't want anymore, and we could donate them to those in need. There was a sweet pause, and then a ripple of laughter laced with gratitude filled the room. She could feel Greg's laughter cutting through the remaining tension, sparking joy like fireworks in a night sky. This was it. This was what community was about. The lights flickered again before stabilizing, sending a burst of fresh energy swirling through the room. "Yes!" The exclamation came from various mouths, bringing forth renewed courage. Emma could sense they were regaining control, yet, as they dove into the next idea, a distant rumbling beyond the walls reminded them of the storm still raging. This caused a ripple of uncertainty through Emma. What if it didn't stop? What if they all had to leave? What if, despite their hard work tonight, the festival couldn't happen? They gathered their ideas, pouring out more and more with renewed curiosity, but still a small doubt lingered. As Emma glanced back at Greg, she found him looking at her with a surprising shimmer in his eyes. With renewed courage, he said, "You know, Emma, maybe we're not just planning a festival. Maybe we're planning a chance for all of us to come together again." His words rang in the air, settling among the others. Suddenly, the flicker of hope illuminated the room so brightly that she could hardly feel the storm battering against the windows. Emma smiled, feeling the weight of Greg's realization settle comfortably in her heart. But just as they were about to dive into even more ideas, a sudden crash split through the air, loud and alarming. The room froze. "Did you hear that?" someone whispered, eyes darting toward the entrance. Emma's stomach twisted. Looking at her friends, she knew they were on the brink of something spectacular, but was the burst of creativity enough to overcome the obstacles ahead? As uncertainty began to envelop them, she held on tightly to the spark ignited among her peers. What lay behind the door they had yet to face? The room sank into an eerie silence, the kind that feels like a thick blanket pressing down on everyone's shoulders. Emma's heart raced, drumming loudly in her ears. Greg's eyes widened, and she could sense the collective breath being held. What was that? Jamie finally broke the stillness, his voice shaky. It was a question everyone was thinking but too afraid to voice. Emma took a cautious step towards the entrance, compelled by an inexplicable mix of curiosity and fear. Maybe it was just a branch falling or something, she suggested, trying to convince both herself and the others, but deep down, she knew the sound had been too close, too loud to be just the storm's doing. She tapped her fingers against her leg, wrestling with the urge to push open the door. "Stay here," she instructed softly, confident that she needed to understand what was happening, even if the looming shadow of uncertainty clung to her. With a deep breath, Emma approached the door. The floor creaked beneath her, amplifying the tension in the air. She grasped the handle, its coolness shocking against her warm palm. "What were you doing?" Greg whispered, stepping forward but stopping just short of reaching her. His concern mingled with something else, a glimmer of courage they had all been building together. Emma turned to face him. His eyes were filled with unspoken worry, yet something else too, an unyielding faith in their unity. For a brief second, she was reassured. Maybe they really were stronger together. "Let us just see, okay?" she replied, trying to infuse her own resolve into her voice. With a gentle twist, she opened the door a crack. Wind rushed in, swirling around like an energetic spirit. The storm was still ferocious, the sound of thunder crashing so close that it rattled something deep inside her. Emma peeked outside, squinting into the darkness. The light from the community center spilled out, painting a weak halo against the ominous backdrop. Shadows danced, creating strange shapes beneath the flickering porch light. "Just a quick look," she promised, her courage battling the dread knotting in her stomach. As she stepped outside, rain drizzled over her face, mingling with the fresh scent of wet earth. She looked around, her breath catching as she spotted something out of place. There, lying near the entrance, was a small, colorful bag, its bright colors fighting against the gloom. "What is that?" Sarah murmured, watching Emma from behind. The tension shifted but didn't break completely. The little bag was not just an ordinary one, it sparkled as if holding its own light. Emma felt an irresistible pull. As if it contained a secret, something waiting to be discovered. "I don't know, but I think it's important." Just as she reached to pick it up, another crash echoed from the other side of the building, harder this time. Emma froze, her heart racing, pulse pounding in her ears. "We need to go back inside," Greg urged, a hint of unease creeping into his tone. "No, just a second." She opened the bag, her hands trembling slightly. Inside, among the glittering contents, lay a stack of what looked like drawings and notes, words of hope, messages from children, perhaps, all layered together in vibrant colors. "Look!" Emma exclaimed, pulling them out. "These are amazing." But before she could say anything more, a flood of faces appeared in her mind, the townsfolk they were working for, the children who would benefit from their festival. The laughter and hope they were trying to ignite with their efforts. Could this be part of their answer? Suddenly, the lights inside flickered again, casting the room in a warm glow. In that moment, Emma felt a charge of destiny course through her veins. She turned to the group, eyes shining with excitement. "This could be our festival inspiration. We need to dive into these. Whoever has left them must want us to find them." But just as the vibrations of hope began to swell, another crash echoed from behind her. Emma spun around, her breath catching in her throat. What else was lurking in the storm? What more awaited them in the dark? Emma's heart thundered, the vibrant hope she had felt moments ago clouded by the uncertainty looming at the edges of her mind. The sound reverberated through the air, loud and ominous, pulling her focus away from the colorful bag. Emma. Greg's voice cut through her thoughts, urgent yet strained. What if it's nothing? She whispered, but the moment the words left her lips, doubt washed over her. Can you really take that chance? He took a step closer, a shadow crossing his face. She wanted to argue, to assure him the drawings were a sign, but that crash had shifted the atmosphere again, turning curiosity into dread. Was the storm hiding something more sinister? Okay, let us take a look, Emma finally relented, her determination reigniting. Clutching the drawings tightly, she signaled for her friends to stay close. As they moved cautiously toward the sound, fear gnawed at the edges of their bravery. Emma could feel her breaths becoming shorter, the pulse in her wrists quickening. Each step echoed the weight of uncertainty. Over there. Jamie pointed towards the side of the community center where the sound had come from. Shadows lurked like secrets waiting to be revealed. Emma's eyes darted around. The rain poured down in relentless sheets, but there, amid the dark, she saw a tiny light, almost like a candle, flickering against the elements. What is that? Emma whispered, gripped by a mixture of intrigue and concern. Greg pulled her back slightly, the edge of protectiveness creeping into his voice. We should call for help or just go back inside. But this was their chance. Emma's thought raced. What if this light meant something? It could be a child left behind, or someone caught in the storm. She couldn't walk away. With a nod to her friends, she pushed through the thick foliage that surrounded the building, moving toward the glow. The shadows tangled around her like fingers, yet she stepped boldly forward, emboldened by the glimmer of possibility. Emma, wait. Sarah hissed, but Emma was already at the edge of the light. And then she froze. Lying on the ground was a girl, a child, no older than 7 or 8, with rain-soaked hair and a terrified look in her eyes. Her tiny hand clutched a stuffed animal, the edges frayed and worn, an anchor in the chaos. Are you okay? Emma knelt down, concern bleeding into her voice. I got lost, the girl stammered, her blue eyes wide and shimmering like the very drawings they had found. Where's your family? Emma asked urgently, hoping the answer would bring comfort. I don't know. I was following the lights. The girl pointed to the community center, her voice barely a whisper beneath the thunder. But they went away. Emma's heart sank. Her mind raced through scenarios the frightened child might have just stumbled away during the storm. Without realizing it, she glanced back at her friends, who stood frozen, eyes wide. Help is on the way, Greg assured, stepping forward as he pulled out his phone, but Emma shook her head. No, we should get her inside first. They couldn't leave her out in the storm. Quick. Let us take her back. As they surrounded the girl and began to move back toward the community center, a jolt of adrenaline surged through Emma. Somehow, this little girl was connected to everything they'd been working toward, a beacon of hope in a time of darkness. What is your name? Emma asked gently, feeling the warmth of determination rising again. Lila, she replied, looking confused but hopeful. At that moment, the storm felt less ominous. The festival they were planning now seemed crucial, a space where laughter would drown out the crashing thunder of life outside. But just as they reached the door, another resounding crash followed, and with it, the lights inside flickered dangerously. What is happening? Jamie asked, eyes darting around them. In that moment, Emma felt a sudden urgency, a calling even deeper than before. Something is changing and we're here to make it right. But what awaited them beyond that door? Emma could feel the air thick with anticipation. What else would the storm reveal? As Emma pushed open the heavy door, a gust of wind swept in, laced with rain and electricity. The flickering lights inside sent jolts of anxiety through her veins. The familiar warmth of the community center felt distant as she stepped into the uncertainty ahead. Everyone stay close, she instructed, glancing back at Lila, who was holding onto her stuffed animal tightly, its fabric soaked and ragged. Emma felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. Lila looked so small, so fragile against the storm's eerie backdrop. They moved into the main hall, where the decorations for the festival lay half assembled, colorful banners hanging askew from the rafters. Though the hustle and bustle had been intended to celebrate what was coming, now it felt like the calm before a storm. The atmosphere was thick with tension, each creak of the floorboards seeming louder than the thunder outside. "Do you think the power is going to stay on?" Sarah asked, her eyes flickering nervously toward the erratic lighting overhead. Greg examined the breaker panel at the far side of the room. "If the storm keeps up, we might lose it completely," he said, gnawing his lower lip in thought. Just then, another crash echoed outside, followed by a flurry of branches slapping against the building. Emma couldn't shake the feel of urgency thrumming in her chest. "We can't just sit here," she said decisively. "We need to find Lila's family. She can't be alone." Lila's eyes widened, tears welling but not spilling over. "Are you sure we can find them?" I thought I'd never see them again." Emma knelt down to the girl's level, and the two locked eyes. "We will find them," she promised. "You're safe with us for now." That determination surged, pulsing between them. They had found Lila in the dark. It served as a reminder that they could face whatever was ahead. Together, they formed a small wall of hope against the tempest beyond. Greg finally managed to regain some clarity. "There should be a landline in the back office. If I can get through to someone." A violent flickering filled the room, and the lights went out completely. Gasps echoed in the darkness. "Stay together," Emma yelled, though she could barely see her friends now. With her heart racing, she reached out, taking Lila's small hand in hers, feeling the warmth radiate from the child. "We'll stick together. Let us go." They began moving cautiously through the maze of decorations and chairs, using the faint glow of lightning as a guide. Emma's mind whirled, thinking of every possible way to help Lila. This little girl could be the key to something larger, something that tied them together beyond their immediate goal. But then laughter broke through the panic, lighthearted and unexpected. It came from a side office, a place they could barely see. "Did you hear that?" Emma whispered. "I think it's coming from in there," Jamie said, squinting toward the shifting shadows. "Should they investigate?" If someone was inside, perhaps they could help find Lila's family. But why would there be laughter amid thunder and chaos? "I don't know. It could be dangerous," Greg replied, a tinge of worry in his voice, but Emma felt a pull, a sense that they were meant to be here, meant to uncover whatever was held within that room. "Let us go listen," she urged, taking a deep, steadying breath as they approached the door. As she pressed her ear to the cool wood, the laughter morphed into frantic whispers, a conversation that carried a weight of urgency. "Please, it has to happen tonight," a voice insisted, sharp like glass. Emma's heart raced. What truth was hidden in the laughter and fear? What could change the course of the storm and their very lives? She turned to her friends, excitement and apprehension battling within her. Are we ready for this? What did the storm truly intend to reveal, and were they prepared for the answers lurking just beyond that door? Emma took a step back, her heart pounding. Should they push through the door, or retreat? The laughter had shifted, now tinged with something else, an urgency that pulled at her insides. "Maybe we shouldn't," Jamie whispered, glancing around nervously as if the shadows themselves were listening in. But Emma felt stronger than fear. She couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever was happening in there might somehow be connected to Lila's family or to them, in ways they couldn't even begin to comprehend. "It might be our only chance," she insisted. "Let us just listen a little longer." They all leaned closer, ears pressed against the door as the whispers grew more urgent. "We can't wait anymore," another voice snapped, fueled by desperation. "If we don't act tonight, it'll be too late." "Too late for what?" Emma murmured, glancing nervously at her friends. Tension hung thick in the air, and she felt Lila squeeze her hand tighter. The little girl's grip offered comfort, grounding Emma amid growing restlessness. Suddenly, the door creaked open slightly, and a thin beam of light stretched out, barely illuminating a figure behind the threshold. It was a woman, her dark hair disheveled but her expression fierce. "Get in here quickly," she hissed. "You can't stay out there." Without waiting for a second thought, Emma took Lila's hand and rushed inside, followed closely by her friends. The dim room held an array of papers pinned to the walls, maps intertwined with phrases written in hasty scrawls. "What is this?" Greg asked, his eyes wide as he took in the sight. "Everything," the woman replied, shutting the door firmly behind them. "I'm Evelyn. I'm trying to stop this storm." Emma's eyebrows furrowed. "Stop the storm? How?" Evelyn's eyes shifted to Lila, and Emma sensed a change in the atmosphere. "That's what we're trying to figure out. But we need everyone's help." "What do you mean?" Lila's small voice rang out, echoing in the stillness. Evelyn knelt down, meeting the girl's wide gaze. "I believe there's a way, but it's dangerous. The storm is more than just wind and rain. It's tied to something much deeper." Emma exchanged glances with her friends, tension like a string pulled tight between them. "We'll help," she said, feeling the weight of her promise settle between them. "Whatever it is." Evelyn nodded, eyes alight with determination. "Good. We need to gather more information. If the storm follows its path, it could change everything for everyone." Suddenly, the sound of booming thunder rattled above the building, shaking the room. The walls seemed to shiver under the pressure. "What's happening outside?" Jamie asked, fear creeping into his voice. Evelyn straightened, her brow furrowing deeper. "It's getting worse. We have to act fast. I need you all to trust me." "What do we do?" Emma asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil outside. "First, we need to communicate with the others who have information. We're going to make a call, a very important call." Emma felt a rush of uncertainty. It all sounded bigger than just finding Lila's family. However, as she watched Lila's small face, filled with both fear and anticipation, she realized the stakes were greater than any of them had imagined. "Let us do it," Emma said, feeling the strength of those words push against her earlier fears. But as Evelyn turned towards the scattered papers on the table, the discordant sound of a phone ringing interrupted their focus. Everyone froze, eyes darting in confusion. "Who could be calling now?" Greg whispered. "Stay alert," Evelyn commanded sharply, as she rushed to the phone, leaving them all in a web of uncertainty. Emma's heart raced again, adrenaline coursing through her as she began to wonder what if this call held the answers they desperately sought. And then, a thought hit her. What if Lila's family was somehow part of this, tied to whatever turmoil awaited? "Lila, stay close," she whispered urgently. But as that chaos settled around them, one thing was clear: the moment of truth was just around the corner. What awaited them on the other end of the call, and was it truly the hope they sought, or the beginning of something even darker? The storm rattled with ferocity outside, but the whirlwind brewing within the cramped office felt equally chaotic. Emma held her breath, watching as Evelyn grasped the phone, a mix of dread and hope hanging heavily in the air. The shadows danced around them, echoing their uncertainty. "Hello?" Evelyn's voice was calm, yet intense. Emma leaned closer, straining to hear. The response came through muffled and buzzy, like static through a radio. "I'm sorry, but who is this?" Evelyn's brow furrowed, and Emma's heart raced. Could this be the moment that would change everything? As the conversation unfolded, Emma's mind raced with possibilities. Could they be connecting to someone who held vital information about the storm, or even Lila's family? Evelyn turned, her eyes locking onto Emma's, and there was a glimmer of urgency, a silent plea to pay attention. Emma felt like a bridge between fears and hopes, connecting her friends, Lila and Evelyn. They were all part of something far greater than themselves. She took Lila's hand tighter, squeezing it gently, trying to convey strength and reassurance to the shaken girl. Lila's little fingers tightened around Emma's, a silent promise that they would stick together. "Where are you?" Evelyn asked, her voice sharp and demanding, pulling Emma from her thoughts. "We need a location. If you're close enough, we can help you." The words crackled into clarity, sparking a flicker of anticipation. Who was on the other end? Emma felt the pulse of possibility weaving its way through her friends. If this call could bridge gaps and mend families, they needed to embrace that hope. Lila whispered, "Do you think they know my mommy?" Emma looked down into her soft blue eyes and nodded reassuringly. "Let us hope so." But the unease in her heart lingered, uncertainty about the storm and what it truly meant. "Okay, thank you," Evelyn finally exclaimed into the phone before hanging up. Her expression was tense, fueled by urgency and hope. "They have information on a shelter nearby. We need to leave fast." Emma's pulse quickened. They were close. Could this shelter be the key to finding Lila's family? She looked at her friends, seeing shared determination in their expressions. Together, they could make a difference, even in the midst of chaos. "Right, everyone. We need to move," Evelyn urged, hurrying towards the door. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Emma glanced back at the papers strewn about, feeling a surge of regret. The ideas they had so passionately brainstormed were now lost in the frenzy. But saving Lila's family took precedence now. They would find their way back to that warmth later. Outside, the downpour felt like a curtain of cold, wrapping around them. Emma held Lila close, shielding her from the harshness, as they stepped into the chaotic world outside. Thunder boomed above, but amidst that, Emma could hear a different kind of sound, voices of encouragement surrounding them. They dashed across the courtyard toward the shelter that Evelyn had pointed out. The rain whooshed around them, washing away their fears, each drop invigorating their spirits. They could do this. They were a community. As they reached the shelter, the door creaked open. Faces of fellow Maplewood residents greeted them, concern etched in every expression. Volunteers were gathered, ready to help in any way they could. The presence of warmth and humanity glimmered against the storm, wrapping Emma's heart in a blanket of hope. "Lila," Emma called, kneeling. "This is it. Let us find your family." Lila's eyes lit up. "You think they're here?" "I believe they are," Emma answered, fueled by newfound courage. Together, the groups converged, asking questions, sharing information, and creating a network of support. The elders, young volunteers, everyone rallied around Lila, a shared mission bonding them together. The storm might rage outside, but inside their hearts burned with the desire for connection. Evelyn tapped Emma's shoulder, her voice steady. "Let us split up. We'll comb through the shelter, ask everyone if they've seen someone matching Lila's description. We can do this together." Lila nodded with a sense of determination that the adults could only aspire to have. Emma felt the spark of hope surge within the shelter. They were stronger together, and if they focused on love and kindness, there was nothing they could not overcome. They searched, inquiring about family, reaching out to every soul they came across. Emma smiled when she saw Jamie and Greg, working tirelessly, overcoming their fears, finding their purpose in the chaos. Then, after an eternal moment, a voice rang through the room. "Lila?" It was a warm, familiar sound. Emma spun around as Lila gasped, her face brightening like dawn breaking after a dark night. A woman rushed forward, her eyes wide with love and relief. "Lila." The two collided, enveloped in a hug, bursting with emotions after a long night apart. It felt like the storm outside quieted for a moment as the crowd erupted with applause, a symphony of compassion ringing through that shelter. Emma stood back, tears of joy spilling over as she took in the scene. In that moment, the essence of community, love, and loyalty filled the air, carving a new path forward for Maplewood. They had turned confusion into clarity, fear into strength, and darkness into joy. As Lila's mother knelt to embrace her daughter, Emma felt something shift within her. This small act of kindness had sparked something bigger than they all understood. Like a wildfire spreading, the connections formed here tonight held the potential to change lives forever. They all stood together, hand in hand, looking toward the future, united in vision once more. And just then, the storm that had threatened to tear them apart began to soften, the clouds breaking away to reveal a sky sprinkled with stars, one shining point of light for every brave soul who fought to create this moment of transformation. Emma realized then that she was part of something beautiful and resilient. They had woven their hearts together in their darkest hour, lighting the way for others to follow. She felt proud to be part of Maplewood, proud of their journey toward healing. Then, a thought flashed through her mind. Let us keep this going. We can plan events, stay connected. She turned to her friends and the rest of the shelter, their faces lit with clarity and strength. This was just the beginning. Emma's heart swelled as she thought of the journey ahead. Let us take this love into the future. We can be a family, a community. Before she could continue, laughter erupted around her, welcoming and warm, a sound accompanying the light, reminding them all of what they fought for. It was a promise to each other, a commitment never to lose sight of what truly mattered, and as the stars twinkled above, their future felt as endless as the night sky, brighter than ever before. Now, the call to action. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel, so you won't miss the next incredible stories. Leave a like now, to feed the algorithm and keep the light shining on these tales of transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing journey. Only true fans understand the importance of standing together.